I went, okay, this is the new series of co-authors from the Step Into Your Brilliant Purpose book that we were both on. I have Maureen Famiano, and I love it because she's another promoter and she's another amazing, talented interviewer, and like, I don't know, another Maureen. But okay, so really we're getting into media strategies and how to get on TV, but even more important, how to tell your story so people can really relate to you. Maureen, welcome to the show. Woo!
Thanks, Maureen. It's hard. I never say that, Maureen to Maureen. So it's awesome. Thanks for having me. Such a pleasure. Always fun to talk to you.
So what's great about all these things is at the end of the day, we did our book project together and we established connection, which is the magic in life. So I'm friends with Maureen on Facebook and I'm with friends now. She's everywhere. So tell everybody what's your background, what you do, and yeah, you look fabulous in red too. So take it away.
Well, thanks. And it is a pleasure to see you again. So hi, everybody. My name is Maureen Famiano, and my background is broadcast journalism, television for 30 years. I know I'm 32, but it's been a while. And for me, I was a reporter, a producer, executive producer. It comes down to the storytelling. When I was a reporter, you have to get the story out of the person that you're interviewing. I loved that, but I wanted to do more. I moved into producing to tell the bigger story, many stories of a day, but it always led to the bad stuff, lots of bad stuff happening, the news that are making the headlines. And I'm the happy one. I look out for the good news. So I pivoted to morning show television because I wanted to motivate, inspire, teach, educate, and at the end of an hour, everybody, depending upon who you were, you could leave with a different impression and a different newness. And we do it again the next day. So I did that for probably 13 years and I loved it. And every time I would talk to a new guest, I would add one more thing that they weren't expecting because of my conversation with them. And they're like, no. I'm like, yes. Trust me. I'm relating more of their story in doing the interviews to my hosts to ask them the right questions. That then I'm like, wait a minute, I need to be able to help people more and further than the quick studio visit. So that's when I launched my company, MEF Media, to be able to help people with their branding and strategy and tell their stories and help shine the spotlight on them.
So you and I know why. So why is a story so important? Why is a person's story so important?
Oh my goodness. You know, when you meet people and you connect and you relate and there's that bond, that's what it's all about. When you go to the grocery store, if you have a favorite checkout line, when you go to the bank, you have a bank teller, you know, you connect with people. That's the special superpower. With people in business and entrepreneurship, it's always how you connect with them. It's not that you're this title, it's the connection. So I remind people, it goes back to the connection. And often they don't think that's important, or they are unique in a charity event they do or something they do with their family. And I would pull it out of them and they wouldn't want to talk about it. And I'm like, no. That's what is an additional way that makes people relate to you and remember you. You want that memorable quality. Many have many, but sometimes it's hard for you to figure out what it is because you're close to you. But that's my jam, is figuring out what is the unique trait that you should share and helping you share it, because the connections and the relationship building starts with that. It's kind of really that simple, but many don't understand.
So, and we talked earlier about establishing trust. Obviously, that is something that, and it's not always out the gate. So establishing trust as well as then, so you get people from all walks of life, usually in business and things like that. They're not always the ones that are willing to say, I'll be in front of the camera. So that whole piece, tell us how do you get them to, first of all, say yes and shift from being behind the camera and the desk to shining and allowing and surrendering?
Well, I think sometimes people are such hardworking people, they're just worried about their deliverables. And when they have a conversation from somebody like me, who's an outsider, just having a conversation with them, and I'm not always about the sale, I'm about the relationship. I'm about the connection. And you have to be genuine and authentic. And you know, when you meet people, you can tell in 1 minute if they are or not. So that's the first thing, is to be real, to be transparent, to be kind. It's that simple. And don't be selling things, so that when you get to the point of sharing what you do and getting a little bit of a bond, and then maybe they want to relate or engage with you, then you have to work with the different people on their team to say, okay, so you're the president, but I think this person and you think this person might be the better spokesperson. So what does that look like? And you know this, Maureen, you do media coaching, I do media coaching. It's a matter of walking them through for the comfortability factor. So there's nothing worse than having an interview or a session with somebody and being nervous or stage fright. So you have to calm them down, remind them it's a conversation. There's no gotchas in this. It's just a conversation. So once you kind of allay their fears, they get a little bit less nervous, not fully. So it's a process. But that's the most beautiful thing is after you get through all of this and they agree and then they go on and they've been coached and afterwards it goes so well. And then they're like, when's my next one? And it's funny. So that's what's fun is, and the beauty of it is they're doing great work. So it's their passion, it's their joy and whatever they bring to the table, or they're doing great. They're prideful of their business acumen. So it's all rolled into one. And that's what I love to be a part of.
I love that. I get to do that with best-selling authors, but they know they're coming on the show. So you definitely do a lot more upfront work as you move them to actually this new place that they get to be. I have two questions because, again, as people will get to following you, find out who and what and how to work with you, you're everywhere. So was there anyone that you were actually nervous about interviewing, or just like starstruck, or I don't know?
Well, I always, in my world of television and syndication, we interviewed and had a lot of stars on my shows. And it's fun, from country stars to big name authors to Bob Woodward. We're talking authors. Bob Woodward came to my show and he was very, very quiet and kind of stuck to himself. But I'm always very much into, anybody who knows, taking the photos, capturing that moment for whenever. So I asked if I could have a photo, and he was very quiet, but he was willing and able. So that was just interesting. But it's just a matter of being ready and prepared. Everybody puts their pants on the same way. So we're all human. The most challenging, perhaps, thing was when at the last minute, I was being sent to Las Vegas to do the American Country Music Awards, the ACMs. And one of my employees was not able to go anymore. So that meant I was going to be doing the interviews. I was going to be the producer behind the scenes, but now I was doing the interviews because she couldn't go. So that meant, with not very much notice, doing 60 interviews, 60, in a matter of 2.5 days before the ACMs on CBS, 60 country music stars. Everybody from Florida Georgia Line, Lee Brice, you name, I can't even think, Carly Pierce, you name the top ones. So I had to interview them back to back to back. Who had won Grammys, who hadn't, and keep it organized and be like, hi, I know everything.
The name of their songs and albums. I mean,
right.
That's content. Wow.
Yeah. And then each of the segments was 3 to 4 minutes long that we would take back and turn for our show. So that was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and I pride myself in preparation. But never let them see you sweat. So I pulled it off. But that was really fun, but it was a little dicey because I had no time.
And that's the piece too, is that it's so important to be prepared, and it's part of the trust, right? That if people know that you're leaning into reading their book or really finding out about them, that's our job. So they can just be. Mm-hmm. But I'm at 2.5 days, 60 people, and like, oh my goodness, 3 minutes that's not 1 or 2 questions. That's right. Wow. So,
Old Dominion. I'm just looking at the pictures that I have. I mean, it was fantastic, but they're seasoned interviewees by then. So if you have somebody who's not really prepared, they could shut the interview down. They could say, we're done. So I had to carry it, do it, be funny and engaging, and then wrap it up in time. Next. So it was a little daunting, but fun, great content. And just in that question you asked me, that kind of fits that situation for sure.
and that was going to be the second part question. So you went right in with that. So, okay. So being that we're both people that stand with that video connects, and that Google owns YouTube, and that videos are starting to really rank as much as, say, someone that had something written like an article, right? Because you bring them forward, you have them come alive, and then people really relate. So with people that are looking to step into this, where do you tell them to begin? What does it look like working with someone like you? And just unfold that.
Well, I think everybody, when you start a new lane of discovery or dabbling in things, it can be scary and nerve-wracking. But I say, you know what, it is for everybody. So just take it one step at a time. And the more you do it, the more you'll feel comfortable. I was working with many people when COVID was starting who knew it was going to be a 2.5-year ordeal. And I would tell people at the time, because I'm dealing with breaking news, whatever this is a breaking news story. I've done that for years. So I told them, video connects you better. They can see a picture of me like this, but they can't hear crazy Maureen being fun and engaging. And if they can, they may say, never mind, but they may say, ooh, I like her vibe. I like her spirit. Same with businesses. So I tell them all the time, don't overthink starting and doing videos. Just create videos on what you're doing in your office or in your small business, or if you're out and about doing charity work, capture it. There are ways to do it better. How you frame the camera. These things right here, these little phones that we all have. I mean, honestly, I work with NBC, CBS, Fox, Spectrum, which is all over the country. Locally, a lot of them are going to using their 13 Pro Max camera, iPhones. And as a reporter years ago, I had the big clunky camera, the tripod, the lights, everything. It was crazy. But the value of these small cameras means you always are able to do a little capture, and you should keep them short and simple to the point. Sometimes people sweat the small stuff. They're like, oh, it can't be more than a minute. Well, if it's engaging, sure it can. If I'm going to be watching it and you get me interested in it, yeah, you can. You don't want to do the 5-minute or the 10-minute, but just don't overthink it. And practice makes perfect. And the more you do it, the more engaging you become, and you know how to do it. And what I do is I work with people on coaching and ideas. I always have an idea or 12, how to do it, how to engage. They're great for getting testimonials from your clients. I remind people all the time, if somebody likes what you're doing and they're happy with it, at the end of your dance, if you will, your engagement, just say, would you mind telling me, how I did? Did I do okay? Did you like what I did? And they may say, oh no, let's do it later because I'm not really ready. Well, when will you be ready? When will any of us be ready? So just capture it then, because the words on a paper, Maureen did a great job in doing blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just words. But if you get somebody saying, oh my goodness, she did great at blah, 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 that's somebody that I don't know, you don't know. You might trust that more. So there's a lot that goes to getting the videos, creating them. It's great content. It shares your personality and what you do, your passion. And then it's also great for testimonials to get your next client.
Okay, so first of all, just tell everybody. So Maureen's out of Tampa, which is like the new hot city of the US. We all know that, literally and figuratively, and yeah, it's fabulous, like she is. So someone that they're watching this, and we're going to do, and then go into how they can get in touch with you and stuff. But maybe they're stuck, or and it's also the new normal, right? So businesses now, it's virtual and it's also in person, and they're not sure how to navigate this new landscape. What do you tell them? What does that look like? How can they get in touch with you? And who is this who is this for? But even more so, how can they bring this into their marketing strategy?
So let's go to how they can get a hold of me. So again, it's Maureen Famiano, MEF Media. So there it is right behind me, MEF Media. Find me on Facebook, direct message me. That's easy breezy. I'm sure, I don't know, will you put a phone
Have
number
links.
up later?
We'll have links.
Down below?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. That easy breezy. Then that you could call me, you can text me, all that good stuff. So that's one way. And then what I do is I work with people. I think we're getting out of Zoom 90% of the time because people can meet in person. But I also say on Zoom, pay attention when you're in the Zoom box. Be engaging, be fun, because you want people to reach out to you for the after call, right? Where it's one-on-one, not the Brady Bunch box of Zooms. And then when you go to a meeting or you get back in touch with people, listen, be a good listener. Remember some takeaway and maybe even take notes. Sometimes when you go back to networking meetings or you're out and about, you meet so many different people and you can't remember who's who and whatever. I make a certain point to remember something specific about them that's different than who they are. It's part of their story, because that tells them that I was listening, and that matters. And then it's about what I love to do is, yes, I am in the primo place to be in the country. It seems right now, Tampa Bay. I've been here now almost 27 years. I love it. It's totally come into its own in the last really 10 years and the last 2-3 years, but it's a great place to be. But I can do what I do anywhere in the country and world for that matter. We do have the Zoom capability, but I love being in person, but there are flights, there's ways to get around and get to people. But what I do is I guide them from branding to strategy to talk to me through what you're doing in your business. Sometimes I'm a fly on the wall during meetings. It's confidential. I listen. And afterwards I say, what did that mean? What did you mean about that? And they're like, oh, it didn't matter. And I'm like, no, that could be a story. And they tell me more. And afterwards they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, I know, that's my job, is to think of your uniquenesses. Then we look to engagement. What does that look like on all the media platforms, magazine, newspaper, podcast, TV, radio, all of that. And then getting the links and sharing them, coaching to get ready to share them. You shouldn't do an interview and never put the link out there, which I've had many people do. They forget, or their team doesn't forget. So it's also my job. I make it my job to nudge, to say, hey, I didn't see the link, only because that will take you to the next level. And what I think people often think, Maureen, is they don't have the budget or the money to put into marketing or PR, because I get it. It's hard. But if no one knows what you do, no one knows what you do. So while it may be hard and challenging, and I was even in a meeting the other day, and some people said, some who didn't have budgets years and years ago, like in the Depression, didn't spend the time and money to position themselves, and they are no more. These were big, huge companies. It was the Walmarts of the world and the Woolworths of the world. Yeah. Well, look where they are now. One is no more, and one is the giant. So we don't have to be the giants. We just have to exist and have to bring in enough customers to keep us happy, them happy. And I love the strategy and branding, and then taking them to the next level. And if you've been in an interview, when all of a sudden you go to a meeting and somebody says, oh, I saw you on TV, or you were featured in a thing, you're the same person, but now they look at you differently because now you've been profiled. And it's not really fair, because you are the same person, but now people are finding out about you, and it's way overdue probably. And that's what I love to do. And then not just once, many times, to keep growing your brand. And I've seen it over and over.
So you're talking authority though.
Totally. It totally establishes you as somebody to watch with a book, with a media interview. It just takes you to that next level. It's powerful. Totally.
And then I'm going to think that that's something that was not something right up front people would think about. But does it not also then bring a pride throughout the entire company, that you have this sense of pride, authority as you're standing in it and owning it? Doesn't that translate through the entire organization?
Oh, sure it does. And if a company is a good company, they share in that spotlight. And it's not all about the president. It's about everybody who's on that team. And then the beauty is when more than one interview starts to happen, and they spread the wealth out, maybe interviewing different people in that office, then they all start to feel like they matter, and they do. And then the funny thing is when they're walking I've had this where they're walking down the street, people are like, aren't you guys on that TV commercial, or weren't you featured in that? They are unexpectedly being recognized. That's a whole other dynamic of you've arrived. But it also shows that people are paying attention. They're noticing. Your business goes up. Some people that I've worked with have had to have opened new stores. They've needed to open new offices. They've had to add extra supply area because they have to order so much inventory to keep up with the demand. That's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful aftermath of getting the appropriate attention at the right time and grooming and all of that to take you to the next level. That's what you want.
Okay, I'm loving all this. And at the end of the day, it's fun.
It is fun, right? Don't have me do your books. Don't have me change your tire. But this is what I do, and I love it. And you know what else, real quick, is when I'm doing things in my local community that I love because I'm passionate about nonprofits and companies doing great things in the positive and kindness. It's when national entities take notice. Ellen DeGeneres has picked up some of my stories. Newsweek has. I'm working with the Today Show right now on a great story. So it can happen, but it starts with you, and it starts with your local beginnings, and then watch out.
Okay, so everybody, Maureen Fabiano, MEF Media, and go get your story out there. All right. So Maureen, back to you, Maureen, and thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.